Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for spending your valuable time with the Adapt 2030 channel. Switzerland electric geology. Argentina slashes its wheat forecast. Argentina slashes its corn forecast. U.S. stocks, soybeans, all wheat, corn down. China trying to find a different source for grains. India, silver imports set records. Oh, will there be enough supply? Strange iridescent blue balls of light glowing without wires. And it looks like we're going to be shuffling through the remnants of our prior civilization. And I'm going to start you off here. At first I thought this was a St. Elmo's fire running down a wire. It looked like it on the railroad tracks, and you can see where it's making electrical connections there. But after it jumped the track and went off into an area with no wires, this is bizarre for me. You know, there are reports of these things being sighted in the forest. What is it, do you think? Jumping over to Glarner. This is in the Swiss Alps. You know, I'm a fan of electric geology, and look at the different layers deposited through ionic winds. Layer cake in the rocks. Those different layers of substance that you're seeing electrically bound to each other as they were deposited across the strata. Was that a plasma arc from space? Speaking of arcing and electricity running down, silver's always way better than copper. But Indian silver imports setting a record for 2022. The old record, 260 million ounces. That was in 2015, 304 million. So if you're going to preserve wealth and you can't get gold, take the second best. And a shocking fact, since 2010, they've bought 730 million ounces of silver, 90% of 2022 global silver mine production. So if that ramps up in demand, just in India, it's going to send prices northward. Not financial advice, just common sense. And the same when people start to see devalued dollars, because Saudi Arabia has now officially stated that they will take payment for oil in any set of currencies or commodities. So the 100% stranglehold of oil purchases across the planet using the dollar has just broken. They're going to see a little bit of massive inflation. So people are going to start running to metals as a way to hedge and protect wealth. It's been like that for 5,000 years. Not going to be any different just because we have computers this time. So you have to look around and see what the entire supply of silver is around the planet. London Bullion Metals Exchange, COMEX, they were all running really, really low anyway. There was a lot of customers, whether they be institutional or family businesses, that were pulling physical stock out of there, taking the 1,000-ounce bars, and if they didn't have that, they would take anything. So it looks like there's a run on metals. Well, it would make sense because the currencies are devaluing across the world, and we're seeing a lot of things coming unwound at the exact same time. Who knows what 2023 holds, but if it's any indication of prior history, you're going to need to protect your wealth. Speaking of which, Americans, check this out. Gasoline prices in Europe. You might go, well, it's only $1.96 in France. It's only $1.72 in Spain. What are you talking about? That's per liter. Now multiply by 4 to get your price. So, for example, where does that $1.82 in England? Multiply by 4. That's their price per gallon. But that price that you're seeing in France is nearly $8 a gallon. So when we have it not so bad here at $3.50, I'm squabbling at 4, 4.25, getting a little red-faced at 5. BlackRock warns, prepare for a recession unlike any other. History has proven the only way the Fed can fight inflation is with a recession. 80% of the retirees are concerned about inflation and very concerned about the stock market. Big banks and billionaires agree on 2 things right now. We're heading toward a recession, and investors need to buy gold. Patriot Gold Group is introducing the 2023 Recession Protection No Fee for Life IRA. Call the Patriot Gold Group today before it's too late. Mention Adapt 2030 and you're going to get the best in-class service. Patriot Gold Group has an OP for Life IRA where your 401k or IRA can be in physical gold or silver on qualifying rollovers. 888-546-7020 to get your free investor guide today. And now on with the video. The European Union is already going into contraction anyway with incredibly high energy prices, natural gas shutdowns. So everywhere you look across the world, it's constricting except for some areas which are starting their own gold-backed currencies. Now, this import substitution had to shake my head here because the pipelines were destroyed. Suddenly, the EU is getting almost as much natural gas import, LNG, from the United States as it did previously from Russia. We've reached that rollover point now. Gee, who would have benefited if a pipeline or two or three goes down? Follow the green line. Now over to the grains, because everybody eats, I eat, you eat, everybody eats. Let's look at the USDA. This was the January 12th, about 2 weeks ago. We'll have to wait until the first here of February before we get another report. The corn stocks were down 7% from December 21, and these carryover stocks that had to do on the yearly rosy forecasts again didn't pan out, so we're down 7% on the U.S. corn stock, soybean down 4%, all wheat, that includes durum and hard red winter wheat, soft white. That's a lot for the wheat. So let's break it down by wheat here. The durum, which is the pasta type of wheat that you'd be looking for. And if we look at barley, that'd be for malting or for animal feed. Got oats there, and then sorghum, which is another ancient grain. Sorghum, millet, amaranth, that's sort of same category and class. You can pause here and take a look at what the numbers were, how many bushels were compared to 2022, 21 values. They don't really have any numbers yet for 2023 because we haven't harvested it or even planted yet. Again, rosy forecast to plant. Now let's look at the USDA slashing Argentina wheat. Now, Argentina's been in a drought. The original forecast was 21 million tons, and now they're looking at 12.5 million tons. That is a huge miss. That's 40% plus down on the grains. And then Canada also missing millions of tons. Where did it go? Seems that the weather woes are scraping across all the continents right now. And if we move over to corn in Argentina, they cut their harvest forecast as well. 52 million tons was the original. Now they're down to 44.5. And look at the catastrophic, which I think they're going to be close to, is that ultimate number will be 37.8 million tons. So you're telling me they went from 52 million tons down to, say, 37 or 38 million tons. I mean, what is happening? Now, are you going to know that all these little millions of tons here, 10 million tons there, 5 million tons there, 2 million tons there, that's going to add up to 100 million tons as we look around the planet. Did anybody look at the losses in Kazakhstan yet? Did you add up the French losses because of drought? Anybody looking at the Ukraine totals? Once you start to put this into perspective, you start to see that, it's a gargantuan loss. If the total amount of grains, even at the best years of production ever recorded, was around 700 million for total grains, even if you slash 50 million off that, 80 million, then we're getting into some problems where global grain totals are down 10 to 15%. It's going to continue this year forward as well. It's going to be a little bit tumultuous. Look for higher prices because a lot of that grain is used for feed into chickens. Oh, wait, what's happening with your egg price? They can say it was because of the bird flu and they cull all those flocks. But you got these input costs in there too. Meat, oh, you're not allowed to eat meat. You're not supposed to eat meat. Well, you need a lot of feed to go into the cattle and dairy industry. So you see everywhere you look, the feedstock grains, which are being, cut, let's say 15% globally, the amount of meat production, egg production, poultry, swine production is going to follow that because if there's no input to feed it, the animals, then they just won't be to market and other excuses will be made because you can't come clean that we're coming into a global food shortage, and from this year forward, the food is going to be less and less and less based on grand solar minimum and the Hunga Tonga eruption and the mesosphere ice crystal cloud. Once in, a couple thousand year event, Look for catastrophic ozone depletion, August, September, October, Southern Hemisphere. It'll catch everybody off guard. How'd that happen? Oh, they forgot the chlorine and bromine catalyst on the ice surfaces of the crystals up there. And speaking of corn, you know, it is coming into the planting season. Ornamental corn, different varieties, and this is the original corn. So what we have today, as you see, the yellow dent corn and that sort of thing, that had been generation after generation improved from this original feedstock that you're seeing right here. I talked to the Amish, they still grind this themselves. This is what they grow on some of their plots out there. And yes, they still do some of the yellow corn, not dent corn, but the heirloom yellow. And that link's in the description box if you feel like getting some corn seed. And corn's one thing, but what do I got? I got the chicken news, fall 2022. They haven't put out their new 2023 letter yet. This is from the Amish, and we're in a buyer club there. So they said they actually send this to you in the mail. So the chickens, you know, they're very also concerned about the chickens, what's going on. So I'll read you part of the letter here. And they're also talking about avian flu driving up egg prices. And what they're trying to do is keep the hens laying longer in their production. And I'll read you a quote here. So while we will not be able to supply all that you have ordered, we want to provide all that we can. So they're telling you that they themselves are struggling to maintain egg production for those in the buying club that would like to order 1 or 2 dozen, whatever it might be. And here's something interesting. They have a used, unused chicken coop in the pasture down in the valley behind the pond. You have to be when you look down, there's a pond down there, and that chicken coop is for sale, but they haven't used it, so it's a used, unused chicken coop. Okay, yeah, good for that one there. And also, they recommend a 20 chicken limit per order for the spring batch. So your limit's 20. And what they have here is freezer ready chickens, $4 a pound. So your max buy is going to be 20 of those. They won't allow you to order any more than that. I didn't see anything about anything about egg limits on here. So here's a little bit interesting something as well that's on the back of this. Why eat organ meat? Okay. Compared with muscle meat, organ meat are richer in just about every nutrient, and they have all the different nutrients listed there. And they continue, organ meats are also rich in fatty acids. And what they recommend is, even if you add just a small amount of organ meat to your ground meat dishes, it's going to add an extra powerhouse punch of nutrition and calorific value. Like heavier, denser food is basically what they mean there. You got to think about how the old timers did it in the homesteading days. Think about pioneering lifestyle. You know, they didn't waste anything. And for us, we had our calf slaughtered, and inside the stomach was really gritty, like, you know, exactly what they were talking about. It was range fed out there at the Amish farm, and we kept all of the organs and we cooked them up for the dogs. Some of it, like the stomach and the lungs, for the dogs. Anything else, we kept the liver for ourselves, the best parts, and then we cut some of that, gave it to the dogs. So for us, we're also thinking about trying to keep our animals healthy, very muscular, because they're, you know, doing around our property, helping us as watchdogs. So we want to make sure they're in the best possible health possible. You know, if you have security guards around, you're going to want to make sure they get dense, nutritious food, so they're going to be at optimal performance. So let's stay in South America. Brazil, first corn shipment to China. They understand also that America is not going to be able to supply as much, nor is Europe, because of these changes we're experiencing. They're going to look for any alternative that is possible. So now that the first trade route has been established, direct vessels, I'm sure there'll be a number 2, 3, 4, 5, and look out. And like I said, we are at the end of our current era of civilization. This is kind of what I see us moving through in the next year or two. It'll be functional, sort of. It'll be a skeletal remain of itself, but it'll still be barely functional. Just don't push the system too hard. And Ransom Godwin and myself talk about this 2 hours at a time. Rumble on the Adapt 2030 channel every Thursday night, 10 p.m. to midnight, Mountain High Time, and the Mini Ice Age Conversations podcast. Both of those on YouTube. We stream live as well. And trueleafmarket.com. Again, if you're looking for seeds for the planting season, that link's in the description box below. I appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video, and I'll see you next time.